Hi, friends. Welcome to this week's DFU. We are continuing with our semester on Final Fantasy VII. Unlike the
Yes.
marathons or any of the is a little bit of a different structure. So if you haven't watched the episodes leading up to this and you're interested in the story, please go back and watch those because we're going to jump right into the story.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to do a recap. We're just
Mm-mm.
going to dive right in, and Chris is going to teach us everything
Mm-hmm.
about his one true love. So Chris, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. Doing good. I'm excited. We're getting to pretty much where the main theme of the game comes into play, where the main story starts to actually get explained a little bit, and you kind of understand what's going on a little bit more with our main hero, Cloud, and our mysterious man, Sephiroth. So excited.
Just with you just explaining like his name coming up just a couple of times, I'm really curious about Sephiroth. And my guess is that's what the game does too. Is it just they scatter it often enough that you know this is some kind of powerful dude, but you don't know much more than that. Is that
Oh yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. They do that with him and Vincent. And that was one of the cool things that Vincent got his own game out of it because he was so mysterious that fans were like, we need to know more about Vincent. So, yeah.
Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. That's where we're at. So, you said no recap. Kelsey, give us a recap.
Recap. At the end of the G-Bike minigame, you fight a gigantic robotic monster. Your team leaves Midgard and they go to Calm.
Calm. There we go. You got it. Bam. Awesome. Look at that. A week
It's
on
not like I have
vacation and
six
she
pages
came
of
right
notes or
back.
anything.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so we will just jump right into it. So, depending on who you choose to take with you is who journeys with you. This is our first chance to actually get to the world map, which is kind of cool and it's something that I touched on in the first episode. Is that Final Fantasy VII was known for having a world map experience where you could actually kind of see the entire map, walk around on it, and choose where you wanted to go. Calm is our first place, which isn't too far outside the outskirts of Midgar, even though Midgar is fucking massive. But yeah, so makes it a little bit closer. Anyways, so judging on who you take with you is who you take with you. Obviously, with me, it's always Cloud TV Red 13. But anyways, moving forward. So you get to Calm, and immediately whoever's on your team is like, hey, everybody's waiting in the inn. Let's go in and talk to them. So you go upstairs, and this is where we kind of get to dive directly into some story, which is pretty awesome. And this is pretty much the only thing that happens in Calm, by the way. Um, so you're up at the top of the inn. Everybody's up there. So at this point, we've got Cloud, we've got Tifa, we've got Aerith, we've got Red 13, and we've got Barrett. Um, so basically, Barrett is like, hey, look, my main goal is to save the planet. In order for me to continue to be on this team, I need to know how us chasing down Sephiroth is also going to lead to that goal. And then Cloud begins to explain what's going on. So then we kind of go into the memories of Cloud. And Cloud starts with back whenever he was 16, after the war, the job of soldier was to put down any resistance against Shinra. And there were a lot of talks about something going down with this reactor that they needed to go to. And then we get to see a cool little scene where we have Sephiroth, we have Cloud, a young soldier, first class Cloud, and two Shinra soldiers in the back of a truck, and they're on their way to go check out this reactor. So Cloud starts off with talking to the soldier on the side who's kind of motion sickness, and he's like, "Oh wow," he's like, "Yeah, it's weird. I don't get that. I've never experienced that." And then he talks to another soldier in the back, and then he goes to talk to Sephiroth, and Sephiroth is kind of like, "Hey, calm down," because Cloud's kind of like bouncing off the walls, doing squat exercises and stuff like that, and he's really excited because he just got some new materia for this mission, and he's really excited to use it and try it out. And Sephiroth jokes, calling him, "Oh, you're just like a little kid," which is pretty funny. But basically, he's like, my issue is he's like, I really, really want to be able to prove myself. I want to be a hero, which is why I joined Soldier. I wanted to kind of be like you. But whenever I made first class, the war had already ended, so that kind of made me lose all my hopes of being able to be a hero and be noticed for the big war. He goes, that's why I signed up for all these big missions to try to prove myself. And so he's like, so I would appreciate if we can get a debrief. So then Sephiroth goes to debrief him. He says that there's a leaky reactor that's leading to some monsters escaping and collecting around Nibelheim. You heard me correct, Nibelheim. That is Cloud's hometown.
Mm-hmm.
As he's saying this, all of a sudden, bam! Huge crash hits the truck, and the Shinra soldier that was traveling stops, and he's like, "Sir, something just crashed into us." And Sephiroth goes, "I bet that's our monster." So they get out, and you see this gigantic, huge green dragon. And then you got Cloud and Sephiroth getting ready to fight this dragon. Cloud hits it, does maybe like 9 damage. If the dragon hits Cloud, you die instantly. And it doesn't mean that he will hit Cloud, but if he does hit Cloud, you die instantly. Sephiroth does like 9,999 damage whenever he hits the dragon. He can cast all his spells at maximum level. And when this dragon hits Sephiroth, it literally does 0 damage. So Sephiroth makes quick work of this dragon.
Wow.
Very, very quick work of this dragon. At which point, then we kind of get interrupted from our little flashback moment for Cloud to kind of explain to everybody, like, any stories you've ever heard about Sephiroth and how strong he is, he's 1,000 times stronger than that. And Aerith goes, wow, so where did you come into play? He goes, honestly, I was too mesmerized by Sephiroth's sword skills. At which point, Tifa then says, ... Tifa's acting a little strange. I know it seems dumb to point that out, but there's reasons. So, Tifa's acting a little bit strange to the story. Then, bam, right back into the memory. So, Sephiroth, they kill the dragon, get back onto the truck, drive into Nibelheim. Sephiroth's the first one to walk into Nibelheim. He then turns around and asks, he's like, hey, Cloud, how does it feel to be back home since it's been so long? He's like, I just kind of want to know. I wouldn't know the difference since I don't have a hometown. Cloud then says, so then what about your parents? Sephiroth then says, well, all I know about my mother is that she died right after my birth, or right after giving birth to me, and that her name was Jenova. That name might sound familiar.
Yeah, it does.
Sounds a tad bit familiar. I wonder where we heard Jenova from before. But I'm not going to tell you because we're about to get into that because somebody's going to blurt it out anyway here in a minute.
Okay.
And he goes, and then my father, and then he just pauses and starts to laugh. And he's like, well, that doesn't matter anyway. Then turns towards Nibelheim, and Sephiroth mentions that he can actually smell a very bad smell coming from the Mako, which is kind of interesting because they're in the town, and the Mako reactor is like way off in the mountains behind the town. So if he's smelling the Mako from that far and it smells bad, there's definitely some shit going on. Cloud then goes to enter Nibelheim behind him, but then Barrett interrupts the story and says, hey, wasn't Jenova the name on that plaque over that headless body that we found in the Shinra mansion? That is correct. Jenova was the name on that plaque about the headless body that we found in the Shinra mansion. Yes, the lady that I sent to you that you saw and thought she was creepy, but the artwork was really, really cool because the artwork was really, really good. That is correct. Her name is Jenova. Yes. Story. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting there. Anyways, so Cloud goes, yeah, that's right. As soon as he says that, Tifa then tells Barrett to calm down and let Cloud finish, and that they will ask questions afterward, then tells Cloud to continue as she seems really interested in what Cloud has to say. The best part is that when I was a kid playing this game, I remember this scene specifically because I was like, Tifa's kind of being an asshole. But I was too young to understand story at that point. Playing it as an adult, and obviously playing it already once, I was like, there's a reason why she says this. Anyways, but that will become
Okay, so her ... earlier with the swordplay was not just a dick joke?
No. No.
Okay.
That was
Because
not a dick joke.
that's why I laughed, as I thought it was a dick joke,
Nope.
and then you went somewhere else with it.
No, I am
All
talking
right.
strictly so. I don't joke when it comes to Final Fantasy VII, Kelsey. Okay? Get this through your head. Good Lord.
This is important.
It is.
We're serious about this.
Extremely important. Anyways, so so back into the story, he then says that he remembers the town being extremely quiet. Like everybody was inside hiding from the monsters, and then he gets real quiet, and he goes, or maybe they were hiding from us. Which kind of gives you that overall fear of how people feel about Shinra. Sephiroth then tells everybody to get some sleep, that they're going to be leaving for the reactor in the morning, and tells Cloud that he may visit his family and friends if he wants to as he heads into the inn, because Sephiroth's obviously kind of on point. The funny part is that you get full reign to run around Nibelheim. One of the places you can go is Tifa's house. And as you walk into Tifa's house, Tifa goes, Cloud, did you go into my house? And you can say yes or no. If you say no, it throws you back out. But if you say yes, it lets you proceed. And he goes, yes, I thought maybe you were home. Then you can go upstairs and go into her room. And then once again, we get stopped. And Tifa goes, Cloud, did you go into my room? And then you can say yes or no. Once again, same things happen. But yes, you get to proceed. And he's like, yeah, maybe I thought you were there. I wanted to see you. So there's two things you can do here. One is a joke, and one leads to something extremely important a little bit way later on. So There is a song that plays on the open map, and it's basically like the main theme, but it's somewhat like Tifa's theme too. But
Hmm.
basically, if you play Tifa's theme, she has a piano in her room. If you can play the first part of Tifa's theme on her piano, first you can say I don't remember it, and then it will play it for you, and then you can replay it. If you play it here in the memory, later on when you visit Nibelheim and you play it again, the back of the piano opens up and you get some special items. But it's only if you play it
Ah.
in the memory first. For people who are wanting to play the game, make sure you play on the piano. Um, the other thing is that you can go through her drawers and pull out a pair of orthopedic underwear. At which point she then goes, "Cloud," and then you can say, "Yes, I did this," or "Nah, I'm just kidding." And if you say, "Nah, I'm just kidding," then she's like, "Okay." But if you say, "Yes, I did this," and she's like, "Seriously, stop joking. This isn't funny. We have something important to discuss." He's like, "Okay, no, I was just kidding." So regardless, he was just kidding. But it's pretty fucking funny because it literally, as you grab the item out, it says orthopedic underwear. That's literally what it says. It's pretty fucking
What does that
funny.
even
I
mean?
don't fucking know, but it's so good.
It's not a lot of bones to move about. Continue, sorry.
Anyways, so the other option that you have to go to is Cloud's house. You can walk in. The team immediately is like, or no, as soon as you walk in, Cloud's like, "Hey, this is my house. Honestly, there nothing important to the story happens here that happened 5 years ago. So we don't have to talk about this." To which then the entire team's like, "No, we want to hear," and you could still choose whether you want to talk about it or if you don't want to talk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, then you can just leave. If you do want to talk about it, you get this whole scene, which I think is pretty cool scene, where Cloud comes home and he sees his mom, and you don't know anything about Cloud's dad either, and he's obviously not in the picture. So Cloud's mom's there, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy to see you." She's like, and doing a typical mom stuff. "How are they feeding you? Are they treating you right? You look like skin and
Hmm.
bones. Let me feed you." And then she's like, "I bet the girls are all over you." And then you got the typical Cloud like, "Yeah, not interested." And then she's like, "You need to date an older woman, someone who could take care of you. That's what you really need for you." And then he's like, "Yeah, not interested." Our typical Cloud. Gotta love him. So once again, he wasn't right. It has nothing to do with the story, but I just like that scene. So then Cloud gets up and he leaves, and he goes to sit down with Sephiroth at the end, and Sephiroth's basically like, "This scenery looks familiar to me, and I don't know why." So then basically he's like, "Well, we need to go ahead and get some sleep." So he tells Cloud that he hired a guide to the reactor and that she's really, really young, and he hopes that they can rely on her. Remember, once again, Cloud is 16 at the time. So the next morning, they
Hmm.
gather up in front of the gate, and the guide is late. Then a father steps forward asking Sephiroth to look after his daughter when out loud you hear Tifa screaming as she's showing up, "I'll be fine, Dad. I have two men from Soldier with me." She introduces herself to them. Cloud's back is turned to her. After hearing her say Tifa, he turns around going, "Tifa, you're our guide." She then brags about being the number one guide in town. And Cloud argues with her, saying that it's too dangerous. Sephiroth then steps in and says there will be no problem if you protect her, so let's go. And as they go to move forward, a civilian walks up and asks if he could take a picture for a memento, which is very important. So remember this. Took a picture for a memento. So they line up. Cloud on the left, Tifa in the middle, and Sephiroth on the right. Then after he takes the picture, they all head to the mountain, and then Cloud talks about how cold the air is and how it was always the same as he remembered. As they get closer and higher up to the reactor, they go to cross a bridge. The bridge snaps in half, and everybody falls down. At this point, we have Tifa, Sephiroth, Cloud, and two soldiers, two Shooter soldiers. They have helmets on, so you don't know who they are. They fall down. As they get up, they seem to all have survived, but then Tifa brings up the fact that it looks like they lost one of the soldiers. Sephiroth says, "I know this might sound cold and harsh, but we need to move on. It's freezing out here. If we find them on the way, awesome. But if not, we have to, expect the worst." So they push forward and run into the Mako fountain that we talked about, and the one that you saw earlier, where it was Cloud, Tifa, and Sephiroth all standing around the fountain. Cloud not knowing what it is, Sephiroth explains to him, which I won't go too much into detail about that, because if you want more detail on that, that was on the first episode. But basically, they're little fountains that condense Mako energy and turn it into materia, which is sprung from the live stream. Natural found materia is way better than anything else in the game. Anyways, so he explains that to Cloud, and Cloud's like, "Oh, okay, cool." So then they get to the reactor. Oh, I'm so excited that we're here. Oh, I'm so excited. Like, this is literally where it all kicks off. So they get to the reactor. Sephiroth and Cloud go in. Tifa goes to go in with them. They stop her from going in. And they say it's too dangerous in there, and not to mention it's kind of like a Shinra building. You're not an employee of Shinra. You don't need to be in here. So they have the guard out front protect her while they're inside. So they go inside and they're looking around, and they have like these crazy looking tanks all over the place. And Sephiroth's like, well, it looks like that valve up there is leaking. All we got to do is just shut this off over here, and we should be able to fix the valve. So they, shut it off, fix it, get it all nice and taken care of. And then Cloud goes, well, what's in here anyway? And Sephiroth like pulls itself up and looks into the container, and then he goes back down and he goes, oh, well, these are soldiers that are getting ready for the heavy amounts of Mako, sorry, heavy amounts of Mako. Cloud goes, what do you mean? As he looks in, you see like what used to be a soldier has been transformed into like this hideous, demonic looking monster. And basically, these are test subjects of people who want to be in soldier, who have been reduced to heavy amounts of Mako energy, and it did not work out for them like it did for our soldier Cloud or our soldier Sephiroth. So these are the people who don't make it
Does
into soldier.
does this person look anything like the monster they fought earlier?
No, no, that was a
Okay.
dragon. Nope. They look like these little imp, like demon-looking monsters. Obviously, I'll have pictures up
Ye-
for the viewers. But anyways, so Cloud goes, so what sets them different? Or Sephiroth goes, so these are your average soldiers, and they're genetically made. And then he goes, average soldiers. He goes, well, what about the above average that get into soldier? And at this point, Sephiroth has like a mental fucking breakdown because he looks up at the top of the stairs, and there is a gigantic metal plaque that says Genova and a locked door right underneath it. So then he starts to think, what if I was genetically created? I don't know who my father is. I don't have a hometown. I don't know anything about my mother. So then, Cloud kind of talks him down a little bit, and they leave. So they're leaving. They go back to Nibelheim, and Sephiroth says, instead of staying in the inn, I'm going to stay in the Shinra Mansion, because there's this huge mansion in Nibelheim that was like a Shinra mansion for like President Shinra whenever he used to stay there, but it's basically been abandoned for a very, very long time. Um. Anyways, so at this point, Cloud wakes up and he's all like, "Where is or no, he doesn't wake up. It's before he goes to sleep. Basically, Sephiroth locked himself away in the basement and literally did not come out the entire night. Cloud wakes up in the morning. Once again, Sephiroth is literally just down there the entire time. So Cloud goes down there to talk to Sephiroth, and Sephiroth's basically like, I don't know what's going on. I need you to leave me alone. I need to figure out, what's happening type deal. And he found a couple books that kind of talk about the project of Soldier and how they are genetically engineered and stuff like that. And he's trying to figure out more about that. So Cloud leaves. Next thing you know, Cloud gets up, and the entire village in Nibelheim is just on fire. Just completely on fire. All the houses are burning down. People are running around in the street, lit on fire, stuff like that. Cloud comes out, he looks around, and all you see off in the distance is Sephiroth as he looks up, and there's just flames engulfing him, and then he turns around, he smiles at Cloud, turns around, and then walks away. Yeah.
Whoa, that does not sound like the guy that he just left in the basement.
That does not sound like the guy that he just left in the basement at all. Which,
Hmm.
now that we finally gotten to this point, so obviously you're kind of getting that sense that Sephiroth's going to be our big baddie here. So,
Yeah, picked up on that.
in my opinion, this is why Sephiroth, and once again, obviously I'm biased because Final Fantasy VII is my favorite game. In my opinion, Sephiroth is easily like one of the best villains because like he was actually a likable character. He was joking around with Cloud, calling him a kid, hanging out with him, talking about going to visit your family, having a good time, and stuff like this. Like he's actually a likable character. And it's like just this one thing just made his fucking mind snapped of him living this entire life and being lied to from the get-go about everything. So it's pretty cool in my opinion. I really enjoyed the story of Sephiroth. Anyways,
So he
uh,
snapped because he was made like a tool.
well, he
He was
doesn't
basically a
100%
tool.
understand exactly what's going on, but he was like, what if I was engineered like these people were? Am I a product of the success? And I've just been getting lied to, saying that I had a mother, I had a father. How much of me was actually genetically made? Was I genetically made from a
Mhm.
cell, or was I a normal
Mhm.
person? And they completely washed all my memories. Like, I mean, his mind is literally running over thousands of different scenarios. So he has
Okay.
no idea what to believe. Um, so what's really cool about this is that you actually saw this scene with the whole fire thing because you watched my AMV, and whenever it does the whole heroes or villains, whenever that fire's all around Sephiroth,
Yeah.
that's that scene of whenever Cloud sees him at Nibelheim. That's that actual scene. They just re-show it again in the movie, which is why it looked all HD and really good graphics compared to the game. So, and kind of a shameless plug if you haven't checked out the AMV, go check it out. It's on the channel. It's great. Final Fantasy
Go
7
watch
AMV.
it.
It's awesome.
It's really good.
It
It
is
really is. I watched
amazing.
did this. It's very good.
Anyways, so shameless plug, but we're good. Anyways, moving on. Moving on. Um, so he ends up walking away, and then Cloud goes to try to chase after him, but there's a lot of fire going on, so he tries to start saving the people that he can that are around him. Then this man tells him to start checking the houses, and he'll go check the rest on the other side. And this man, actually being like one of the greatest like kung fu teachers and like master of martial arts in the village, is actually Tifa's trainer. That's who taught her to be the
Ah.
badass that Tifa is. Yeah, she's a beast. Anyways, so Cloud then goes to try to check the other houses, but there's too much fire, so pretty much at this point his mom's dead. Tifa's house is completely burned down, stuff like that. So Cloud ends up booking it off to. He didn't see any signs of Tifa, so he ends up booking it off to the mountain because he heard word that she's out there. So he starts running all the way
Hmm.
out to the mountain to go stop Sephiroth and everything like that. We get all the way up to the mountain, get inside the reactor, and sure enough, not only do we see Tifa, but we see her father on the ground with Sephiroth's sword through his stomach. And she's laying there crying next to him. Remember, once again, Cloud 16, so that would make Tifa 15. She's sitting
Hmm.
there crying, and the words that come out of her mouth are, I hate Shinra, I hate Sephiroth, I hate Soldier, I hate everything. As she then grabs the mass immune out of her father and then runs in to go fight Sephiroth. Cloud then is like, Tifa, wait, runs in behind her. She's a little bit more ahead of him. She runs up the stairs as Sephiroth is standing there in front of the Genova door, still locked. And she starts running up the stairs as she goes to hit him. He turns around, stops her hand, grabs the sword, cuts her, knocks her. She goes flying down the stairs. Cloud catches her. Sephiroth then turns back to the door, slices the door open, and then proceeds to walk in. Cloud takes Tifa and sets her down in front of not the tank you looked in, but one of the other tanks right next to it, which was kind of funny. But anyways, sets her down in front of that, and then he's like, Tifa, I'm so sorry, I wasn't here in time. She goes, no, you kept your promise. Remember the promise? Yep, from
Hmm.
earlier. She's like, you kept your promise. So he puts her down, or she's like, you were here to save me, whatever. So he puts her down, and then runs in after Sephiroth. It's all like, how could you do this? This is my hometown. And Sephiroth, at this point, has realized that Genova is his mother, which he already thought anyway, because his mother's name was Genova, or at least he was told that, and is trying to figure out more about what Genova actually is. So he's pretty much gone at this point. He believes in the Promised Land. So I think they get into it a little bit later, but I feel comfortable enough that we can go ahead and kind of discuss this now. So basically, this goes back to the ancients, what we talked about in the first episode.
Hmm.
Genova is not an ancient. She's more of like an alien species. And she's known as Heaven's Dark or no. Or yeah, Heaven's Dark Arbinger, the Calamity. Genova. What happened was that a very, very, very long time ago, a gigantic meteor fell into the Earth and did a lot of damage to the Earth, causing the North Crater. The ancients then used the power of the life stream to try to heal the planet so that way the planet wouldn't die from this meteor. They were able to stop the planet from dying, but what they didn't know is that there was a life form on this meteor. This life form was Genova. Genova was able to not only trick the ancients, but also kind of like take on their look and begin to kill them one by one. She started to infect them, and they started to die off with a disease called geostigma. We don't actually find that disease out until the movie, so I won't go too much further into that because it explains it in the movie. But in the game, you just know they started dying out from some disease, but it's called geostigma. Anyways, she infected them with geostigma. They all started to die out. Genova's overall purpose is to also, as Sephiroth has said, find the Promised Land, which is also the ancients' goal as well. Obvious, and Shinra's goal as well. So we're starting to see a pattern here. Everybody wants the Promised Land for their different reasons.
Everybody's looking for utopia. Yeah.
What Genova does is that she goes to a planet, uses up all the life stream to kill the planet and take the power for herself, and then uses the planet as a husk to sail through the cosmos till they find the
Gah.
planet that has the promised land, which means that meteor she was on used to be a planet.
Well, that's really dark.
Hmm.
Good Lord. Okay.
And at the
And she
moment,
is all kinds of evil.
and at the moment, all we have for information is that this is possibly Sephiroth's mother, and
Ha.
he just found this out. And this happened 2,000 years ago. So we're 5 years back already, and then 2,000 more years back from that. So 2,005 years from the actual current events of Final Fantasy VII is when the calamity fell, Heaven's Dark Arbinger. Genova. Genova, she still has her head.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, so Sephiroth then does that. Him and Cloud get into no. So he then goes to get onto the tube and starts talking, and Cloud runs up and stabs the Buster Blade directly through Sephiroth, cutting straight into the tank. Yeah, our fucking hero, Cloud, to the rescue. She cuts him straight through to the tank, and Sephiroth's like, damn you. And then Cloud pulls the sword out and then immediately runs and checks on Tifa. As he's out there checking on Tifa, trying to make sure she's okay, Sephiroth then comes stumbling out, bleeding everywhere, and in his hand is his Masamune, and in his other hand is Genova's head. He has decapitated his mother and has taken her head. Yes, exactly. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Why? Why? Why?
We'll get into that whenever the time is right. So then,
Now is not the right time. The man has a head in his hand.
So then Sephiroth goes to try to escape. Cloud goes to fight him. Let's see. I don't know if that actually happens at this part. Yeah, I don't think that happens at this part. So we're going to go ahead and stop
Do you
that
want to
right
consult your guide?
there. No. If it doesn't happen at this part, it for sure happens at the second part. So we'll just save it for the second part. I know that for sure.
Okay.
Because we visit this flashback multiple times. As you've now noticed, Sephiroth is the main baddie, and Genova is a huge piece of what the fuck is happening. So we visit this flashback a couple times. Anyways, so we'll go ahead and end the flashback there, because I'm pretty sure that's somewhat where it ends. And now we kind of got this whole mysterious thing. Barrett's freaking out about Genova, like, what the hell is this? Like, oh my, he's freaked the fuck out. And the whole team is kind of like wondering what the fuck is going on. And basically at this point, Cloud's like, we just need to get sleep. We need to find Sephiroth, and we need to end this. The only thing that's weird is that Tifa then goes, Cloud, and then she goes, never mind, don't worry about it. Once again, Tifa acting a little bit weird this entire time he's been telling the story. Just a little bit weird. But that ends our flashback in Calm, and besides visiting shops, there's legitimately nothing else for you to do in Calm. That is the entire reason you go to Calm, is just for the flashback.
Gah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you leave Calm, where do you go next?
Next, we head to the Chocobo farm, where we get to see the dancing chocobos, where I already showed that to Kelsey earlier. She got to watch the dancing chocobos.
I freaking loved it.
You talk to him. The best part is that the guy that owns the chocobo is like, it's actually the kid. The dad just like runs the inn inside the house, so it's a kid, and his name is Chocobo Billy. Yeah, and he runs the chocobos, and this is where you can buy stables. This is where you could buy chocobos and stuff like that. I guess the last part to wrap this up, or we'll end this, is that right across from Chocobo Farm is this gigantic swamp, and it's known to have these gigantic serpents in it, which early on in the game can legitimately fucking kill you in one hit, and they can also choose to knock characters out of battle, but they have this extremely strong attack called Beta. And if you have enemy skill materia at this point, which you should have at least one, If you can get the snake down to 1,000 health, it will cast beta. And if you can try to keep your characters alive long enough by casting, barrier or anything up on your characters, you can try to get this skill early. You will save yourself so much time in leveling and getting through the game midway. It's rough. There's no offense. You will not do this on the first try. It will not happen. The snake will piss you the fuck off. It will take a while. I suggest waiting until you get to Costa del Sol and going on the beach and attacking this enemy that looks like an octopus with a shell on it and learning Big Guard from him so that way you can have Big Guard because it gives you a magical barrier and a physical barrier and then going back and trying to take the snake out. But anyways, the part that I'm getting to is that the mithril mines are on the other side of this swamp, and you need to get there. But once again, the snakes, they can feel the tremors and the vibrations through feet, so they come straight and attack you. They're like underneath the water, and they're huge. They're like fucking gigantic. These things are like as big as mountains. They're huge.
Good Lord.
So the only way to get across is to get on a chocobo because they're extremely fast. So you got to catch a chocobo, and then you get on a chocobo, and you run across. When you get to the other side, all you see is this gigantic tree that looked like it got stripped down to look like a spear, and one of these snakes is like destroyed, like it's been stabbed through the snake. The snake's coiled around it, and everybody goes, "I wonder what could have done that." And Cloud just goes, "I know what could have done that, Sephiroth." And then we'll end it there. So yeah, Sephiroth's a bit of a badass. He's a bit of a badass. So at this point, we are looking for Sephiroth. That is what we are doing. We are on the hunt for Sephi. That's what I like to call him.
We're doing that on purpose because he's doing some crazy shit.
So his main goal at this point is to do exactly what his mother did, to find the promised land. And if he doesn't think it's here, he'll drain the planet of its energy and use it as his vessel to sell the cosmos. At least that's what you think his plan is. I'll say that.
Okay. Oh, you could just say at this point that's his main goal.
Yeah, for sure. That is 100%.
Yeah.
So that is where we will end the story for today. A little bit of a quick one, but it's a lot of story. I wanted you to be able to process that story aspect because this is where we start to get the main story of the overall game. We get Sephiroth, who is the main villain's kind of like story in a little bit. You get a little bit more known about Sephiroth. So actually something else I guess I kind of can tie into because we kind of talked about it already with the Mako. So what makes Soldier? And this is how Sephiroth's mom kind of ties into him. I won't go too deep into that because we learn that a little bit later. Is what makes a soldier is the introduction to Mako energy and being bathed in Mako energy and also being injected with Genova cells. So Sephiroth, as a baby, was injected with Genova cells and constantly induced into Mako and became the fighter that he is today. And that's how most soldiers. So but you'll hear me say this a couple times throughout the story too, where people refer to Cloud. Like when they meet him, they'll be like, "Oh, you're part of Shinra." And he's like, "How do you know?" And they're like, "Your eyes. They've got that glow of Mako in them." All soldiers have that trait where their eyes have like a Mako glow to them. So, yep.
So
these Genova cells allow them to. So when I talked about, you'll find out things that make sense about Cloud being so durable. It's because he's not necessarily just a normal human. He's got this Mako energy and these Genova cells inside of him, which come into play way heavy in the game. So I won't get into that. So but that makes you a little bit more. Yeah, it gives you a little bit more reason on why Sephiroth didn't worry about like just killing his fucking mom whenever he decapitated her. He knows that she's just this entity that they're using for cells and stuff like that. And if he thinks he takes the brain, they can't use the rest of her. But as you saw, back in present time, Shinra has her body. But whenever the president was dead and Cloud and them woke up from being captive, that had been busted open and her body was gone. And where was Sephiroth's sword? In President Shinra's stomach. Sephiroth nowhere to be found. So it looks like he might have.
So he's got bits of mom that he's going to sew back together in the creepiest Mother's Day present of all time.
It's a little thing, because this won't give too much away, but it's a little thing called the reunion. You'll hear that word a lot as we move forward. The reunion. Yep.
Okay. So do we know, probably not at this point, you probably can't answer my question, but do we know if Sephiroth is anything other than just a normal baby that they just like, hey, let's just run this experiment. Was he one of Hojo's experiments where he was just like, hey, let's just inject this baby with a bunch of these cells, and he just did better than anybody
I
else?
won't give you names because they come into play a little bit later. I will say this: it is
Okay.
not Hojo. He was a regular baby, and he was an experiment. He was the first experiment of Soldier.
So he's not actually Genova's spawn. He's just
Yes, correct. There was an
okay.
actual other woman with a different name, which I am saving for later. That yes,
Okay.
that was his original mother, along with his father, whose name I'm also saving for later. And
That's
they were
fine.
the ones who got together. And I will also say this: both his mother and his father were both scientists.
Oh God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Here, let's make a baby. Now let's make experiments on it. Oh God, that's just A plus parenting all the way around. A plus
Now
parenting. There's
this is
nothing to critique here.
this is where one of those cool aspects come into, so I can actually point this out because this won't give anything away. But this is where I was talking about, where it's like, okay, so main goal of the game is to stop Sephiroth at all cost. Now you have this Genova shit going on, which leads to all this soldier shit, which leads to all this Shinra shit. Then you go back to the Sephiroth aspect, and then you got another avenue to go down as far as his parents, what this leads to, how this ends up turning
Mhm.
into this whole thing, which leads to the ancient tree, which goes back to Aerith. So it all goes in these different ways, but they still all come back to the main point of the story, which is extremely awesome in my opinion, because you have all these different avenues to explore and pay attention to when you're going through the game, and a lot of these reach into characters like Vincent, who we haven't met yet, who help tie up some of these stories. So that's why I'm leaving these off, because when we get to certain spots, I'll be able to tell it that story, and then you're like, holy shit, that makes so much. Yeah, it's and they all tie in together, and it's so cool watching them unravel and then just creating this entire picture for you. It's pretty fucking cool.
That does sound really awesome.
Yeah, a lot of different avenues to go down for sure. For sure. Pretty hyped. Pretty hyped. So yeah, that's where we're at. So I guess in typical fashion, you get to pick another character. We didn't really get a new teammate. We should be getting a new teammate soon, which I'm pretty excited about that. And then not that long after that, we get another new teammate. And then not that long after that, we get another new teammate. And not that long after that, we get another new teammate. And then we have all the team. So we're getting there.
Which is good because I'm looking at my list of main characters and we've gone over most of them, and I know I you can't tell me that much about Cloud right now because we're still learning.
I mean,
You
well,
can't
you
tell me that
you
much
pretty
about
much.
Tifa.
I could tell you a little bit more about Cloud's story, or Cloud's overall like story as far as his like childhood and stuff like that, because we've kind of hit that already. We've been
Oh,
through
okay,
all the
great. Then
flashbacks at
Cloud
Nibelheim.
is the person I'm choosing this time.
Awesome. Obviously, my favorite, my man, the one, the only, Cloud Strife is his last name. There are no origins on who his father is. Cloud was kind of a little kid who had a um, complex as far as I'm better than everybody else. You're below me. I don't. Yeah, that's. But
All of your characters feel this way. I wonder why those are all your
well,
always your favorite characters.
he wasn't like that at first. At first, he was wanting to hang out with the kids, and Tifa hung out in a very close circle. I mean, to be fair, you kind of saw Nibelheim in the flashbacks there. There's like 6 buildings total, so I don't really think there was that many people anyway. But regardless, they didn't really like Cloud because he was new. Da 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 da. They had already had like an established friend group, so Cloud wanted to hang out with them, but they were always kind of leaving him out and being mean to him. So then he kind of was all like, okay, well, I'm too good for these people anyway. Is where he started to develop
Ah,
that.
okay. That's fair.
So yeah. So then he then uh let's see, we won't get into that part yet about with him and Tifa, but basically he obviously had a crush on Tifa and liked Tifa a lot, which we saw whenever he talked to her to come to the well. So basically, once he developed this, he wanted to just be the strongest he could possibly be, so people could notice him because he felt like he was unnoticed. So he then started to look into who were the strongest men around, and Sephiroth's name is basically what he found out and learned about Shinra and learned about Soldier, and that became his life dream, was to become a member of Soldier. To which then Cloud, at the age of I think 14, left. No, yes, maybe no, because it had been a long time. So I think maybe 10 is whenever he left to go join Soldier. Grew up in the army. obviously joined the ranks of soldier and came back to his town 5 years later, to which we just saw all that shit happen. As far as Cloud's mother, she looks a lot like him, which from what you can tell from the graphics, but she kind of has like the same hairstyle, but with one ponytail coming down the back, and she seems like a really, really sweet lady. She really was all happy that Cloud was home, wanting to know all about his life. We kind of like went into that a little bit, but Cloud was your typical like, "Stop, mom, stop," which was cool to see. I really, really like that moment a lot, and because it plays pretty heavy into the Crisis Core game, which we'll get into that when we get to that. But I thought it was a really, really good scene because like you don't really know anything about Cloud's parents, really. You know absolutely zero about his dad. Like I'm being dead serious. I'm not hiding anything from you. I don't know anything about Cloud's dad. Like it's just.
And if there was anything to know, you'd know it.
Yeah, it's just not a thing. So all we know about is his mother, which she died in the fire at Nibelheim, which was unfortunate. To Cloud's hero, also unfortunate. So yeah, after that, he somehow winds up in Midgar, leaving Shinra and leaving Soldier to become a mercenary. And that's whenever he gets hired to do a job for Avalanche, which is where we started our game. Jumping off that train to blow up a Mako reactor. Mako. I keep saying Mako. Mako.
I mean, if you call it both ways, then you'll make everyone cringe.
Yeah, right? Let's fucking do it. Let's fucking let's do it to it.
Okay, so good kid, little bit ostracized, decided I'm going to be super strong, and then people care about me, and then just went off adventure.
Yeah, and then, I mean, look at the issue he has whenever it comes to the size of how big his fucking sword is. I love the fucking Buster Blade. That thing's massive. Oh, I want one so bad. I would never be able to wield it, but I want it. I just
Is there a dick joke in the sword?
No. Cloud's well hung, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you can tell with those amazing graphics.
Hey, you haven't watched the movie yet. Fuck off, Kelsey.
God, do we see his dick in the movie?
Maybe.
I don't believe it for a second.
Oh, man. What was this movie rated again? Probably PG-13. I think so. So, yes, you would be correct. We did not see, unfortunately, Cloud's dick in the movie.
All
so
right.
It's got to be hard, wielding two Buster Blades like that. I mean, it's got to be hard. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not sure if you can tell that I'm glaring at you, but I definitely am.
I can tell, and it's great. It's fantastic. I can feel the judgment just coming directly at me through your eyeballs. It's overwhelming.
All right. Well, friends, I have to end this or we're like dick jokes for the next 20 minutes.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
That will wrap up our 4th class on the Final Fantasy VII semester. If you have more questions or any interest in what we just put out, please go ahead and join us in the comments. And we'd love to interact with you there. We'd love to have comments about whatever you've observed, or especially if Chris got something wrong, we really want to interact with Ben. Absolutely, because that would be the best. If there are hidden dick jokes, please point them out to Chris, because I think he may be missing them. He may have just this like nostalgic innocence that's guarding him from all the dick jokes. So just feel free to point them out. Specifically at Chris in the comments, please. I beg of you. If you enjoyed this content at all, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notifications so you know when to come to class. And we'll see you in the next class, friends.